name is Khalid Kadir. I am a lecturer in International Area Studies and in the College of Engineering. This semester, I'm going to be teaching a new class, E157AC. It's also cross-listed with International and Area Studies, IAS 157AC. It's super exciting. It's a course that is designed to sort of expand the boundaries of what maybe we conventionally think of as engineering. And I say conventionally, but that has some historical specificity. It wasn't always this way. But in the sort of current moment, engineering is generally a very technical education. Starts with math, science, the chemistry, physics, some biology, depending on what type of engineering you're in. But now we're sort of pushing that boundary to think about people in engineering is more or less what we're doing, not just to think about numbers and to think about just technical matrices. We're also thinking about human metrics. So the idea of this class is to sort of expand the boundaries of engineering and to help engineers understand how the work that they do is implicitly political. It's implicitly social. There's no way of getting around that. Even if they're working on something in a laboratory with very technical specifications and thinking about temperature and pressure or pH and these kind of metrics, in the end of the day, that thing that they're working on is going to be integrated into human society in some way. And human societies are fundamentally politically oriented. There are some people with power, some people without power. There are issues of race, class, gender. And these technical interventions, these technical widgets, when they interact with societies, they can support certain power structures, they can challenge power structures. And so helping engineers understand the ways in which the work they do is embedded in society is sort of the goal in this class. What excites me about teaching this class? I think what's exciting is that it brings together a lot of the things that I've struggled with as an engineer. I entered into engineering as a graduate student wanting to do good, and I didn't want to deal with politics. So I entered into engineering wanting to do something to sort of help the world, but I didn't want to deal with politics. Are messy. Politics are like, you gotta make people angry, you gotta push up against people. That wasn't what I wanted to do. And as I went along in my dissertation process, studying specifically wastewater treatment ponds in developing countries, I started to ask questions. Well, wait a second, we know how to do this. Why isn't it happening? We understand how to treat wastewater, and yet it doesn't happen all over the world. We understand how to treat drinking water, and we've known it for ages, and yet it's not happening. And so then it forced me to start asking bigger questions, and it forced me to start thinking about sort of the political economy of engineering, and start thinking about what is the context that this engineering work I'm doing, where is that going to end up? And that led me to sort of asking broader questions, taking courses across campus. It led me to sort of a very interdisciplinary graduate education, which I'm really happy about. Berkeley's a fantastic place for that. We have such a breadth of faculty here. It's something I tell potential graduate students, you're not going to find that in other places. Sure, go to Harvard, get the reputation, you're not going to get the education you're going to get here. So that's something that I really benefited from doing my graduate work here at Berkeley. And now it's exciting for me to teach this course because it brings that all together. It's a way for me to work within engineering and yet also work within human societies, and to not be forced to separate those two types of work. I want engineers to learn the value of the kind of social science knowledge that I'm going to teach you in this class. But I also want the social science students to understand the value of the technical knowledge and how you can't separate these things. There's not this technical world out there, and there's not this sort of social world out there. One feeds the other. One's part of the other. And if you don't have a handle on both of them, you're going to have a hard time having an intelligent conversation about these things. So my hope is that this course sort of, in the sort of true spirit of interdisciplinarity, sort of enables these conversations, enables both sides who are able to get things when they exist in their own silo on one part of campus or another, that they can bring that to the table, but then they're also going to learn something new from across the table, so to speak. Working with community partners makes it real for students. It's one thing for me to stand in front of a classroom and lecture to students about, this is what it means to be dealing with a technical project within a community in some abstract sense, or a case study. But when students are actually see, to use the expression, when the rubber hits the road, when they walk into a community in Richmond and they see, wow, it's flooded here. Why is that flooded? This is flooded for 3 months of the year. What's going on? There's an infrastructure problem. We know how to solve this infrastructure problem. It's not flooded in Berkeley, so why isn't it solved here in Richmond? And that forces them to ask other kinds of questions, and it forces them to sort of step up their game as engineers to think about technologies differently. But it also enables them to understand in a very visceral way sort of how these things are manifesting in communities' experiences. So for students to be able to work directly with the people who are struggling with these issues, they can come to see things beyond what I might be able to tell them. It's hard for me to pick one or two that I'm. I guess if I had to pick one project that I'm particularly excited about, it's the drinking water project. So let me give you the context. These communities have nitrate contaminated drinking water. This is a relatively new phenomenon. The exact causes, nobody can scientifically draw them for sure, but the general understanding is this is because of fertilizer use on agricultural fields has now worked its way into groundwater. They pump that groundwater out, and it has nitrate in it, and they can't drink it. That's the sort of technical version of it. The other side of it is that these are unincorporated communities that have been, cut out of other cities and townships, and so they don't have access to the same money for infrastructure, and so they have a very small pool of funds to deal with their own drinking water issues. An immediate response from a technical perspective is, look, this is a small community, they have drinking water problems, let's put a filter in everyone's home. Well, you don't filter your drinking water. I don't filter my drinking water, someone else does it for me. Most people on campus probably don't know where their drinking water comes from or where it gets treated. Being an environmental engineer, you sort of have to learn that stuff, and you know it. So why is it that we ask some people to treat their water in their own house and we don't ask others? So my initial reaction is, wait a second, why? What is this? This is like a clear sense of inequality. We're asking one person to pay to treat their drinking water in their house at high expense, and that person also happens to be very poor, and they also happen to have poor working conditions, and they also happen to be invisible to most people. The people don't see them, either whether they're undocumented or they just live in a rural area. So there's these structures of inequality just amplify and to sort of one thing on top of another with communities. But that's not my decision to make. If a community says that, yeah, we want a filter in our house, we'll pay for it, we'll deal with it. Let's do it. Let's design a filter and let's make it work. If they're like, no, we want to understand what it would take to have a community-based system, or we want help understanding the science of this so that we can advocate politically for certain ends. That's their decision to make, not mine. I don't want to be the engineer who's the engineer activist who says, no, this is what you need to do and this is how you got to do it. And I also don't want to be the engineer who's like, here's the widget to fix your problem, go pay for it and deal with it. So I think what's exciting to me about this project is that we are working with two different communities that want two different things. And initially I was like, when I heard one of them like, we want to know about household treatment technologies. And I was like, really? Why do you want to know about that? Like, that's not interesting. You really want to pay to treat it? Well, I don't pay to treat my drinking water. But they want to know about it. And I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's give them what they want because that's what they want. They understand their situation. They understand the reality. They have a million other political fights. If this isn't one they want to make, I'm not there to force them to make some political fight. It's their choice. So I'm excited about that from that personal side. What we're doing is meant to serve communities. I mean, the state of California, while they pay less, they put money into this higher education system because they want to see California benefit from it. Well, how's California benefiting? Who is California? And how do we have conversations with California? Do we at the university get to put up our walls and decide what counts as California and what doesn't, and how it counts and when it counts? Or do we go out into communities who make up California and work directly with them to both inform the work that we're doing and to hopefully help these different communities also benefit? It's sort of like I hesitate to use the term, but it's kind of like a double bottom line. Like, why is it that we maybe think about doing research and making great research or doing community work and doing really great community work? Why can't these two be related? Why isn't our research informing what is great community work, and why isn't community work informing our research? These two being part and parcel to me is sort of implicit to the mission of what we're supposed to be doing at a public university. So.